The FNRad Snowboard podcast is presented by Vans.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be absolutely not attractive to snowboarders.
Maybe we need an injection of that, because it'd be interesting.
And I didn't sign the contract, probably just had it in my bag for a couple of months.
And we're all like, oh, that's just banging, let her run.
We pushed each other to become better.
Front three-tailed it.
Season 5 of the FNRad Snowboard podcast is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Crow's Nest Barbershops, Anon Optics, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Support also comes from Grouse Mountain, Mount Seymour, and Cypress Mountain, Vancouver's 3 local mountains. I want to give some special thanks to my friends at Volcom, Dakine, Intuition Liners, Salmon Arm Mitts, Ride Snowboard Bindings, Caribou Brewing, Air Blaster, Stance Socks, Shred Soles, Bluebird, Hertel, Swix, Toco, and Beaver Waxes, Tantalus Labs, and Fast and Loose. Before I start the show this week, I need to tell you the audio is a mix of me in my sauna and Jamie Lynn recording himself on his phone from Baldface Lodge. It's not ideal, but I had such a great conversation with a true legend of snowboarding that I have to put it out there, and it's only a preview of what's to come. Jamie's living hobo style up in Nelson with his girlfriend, skateboarding, getting back to basics, and doing all the things he loves, including creating beautiful art, music, and poetry. It's a great honor to have him back on the show, and I can't wait to talk to him again. Here's my conversation with the one and only James Michael Lynn. Let's do a quick question. Javis, my favorite listener, one of my favorite listeners, wants to know who's got the best method in your eyes.
Ooh, that's a tough question. You know, there's so many out there from Ben Ferguson. He's got a wicked one. And in the half pipe, I've seen some wicked ones out there. You know, I wouldn't want to take anything away from Sean White and saying he's got a pretty wicked method. So does Mark McMorris on that level. You know, you don't discriminate. I can't place one method higher than the other, because it's just the act of doing it lies the beauty in itself. You know, you can't discriminate on a non-fully kicked out method. We'll be sending no one to hell for that today. We only raise the method up in high praise and rejoice.
Very nice. Yeah, we have Dustin Vargas says hello from Jackson Hole. That's a rad spot, huh?
I want to give a big shout out to Jackson, man. I miss those guys. I hope they're doing well in light of all this stuff that's been happening. If not sooner or later, we're going to get a chance to get back out there and to have some fun with them. But I love you guys. Miss you.
Yeah, I talked to Willie McMillan, Bluebird Willie. He had coronavirus, for sure.
We got word of that up here in Canada. That was one of the first cases of someone that I actually knew.
Same.
That came down with it, you know.
Yeah, I was scared for him, man. That's sketchy. He was in tight quarters with people who for sure had it, and then I guess all of them did. They all wound up getting it. But the report from him was it's gnarly, but let's not go on Corona talk. Corona talk's so boring.
You know, I just want to send a big shout out to Willie and say, hey, Willie, man, miss you, brother. Love you. Hope you're doing well. Can't wait to see you. Keep Risky Livers living.
Yeah, dude, Risky Livers is epic. I have that on my phone. I bought the album, and it just, when it connects to my car, sometimes it just randomly plays. And it's always the right time to listen to Willie and Risky Livers. Super sick. All right, we got another question for you, Andrew Soda Wadden, another favorite of the show. What's the story behind the no gloves thing? Devin would want to know that too, because I know Devin and the guys up here were so hyped on the no gloves thing. It just was rad.
Yeah, you know, it just came back to skateboarding. You know, did you ever go skateboarding with gloves on? You know, and it just gave me the freedom to be able to be in touch with my board when I would do stuff. You know, there's a connection that I had with what I was doing when I didn't have gloves on, and it just felt like I could grab that board that much more secure and solid and do what I needed to do. And a lot of it was comfort and freedom. You know, springtime hits, it's warm, it's beautiful, it's sunny. You just feel stifled sometimes with a pair of gloves on. Granted, there were times when I was forgetful, you know, and just straight up forgot them. And then,
Yeah, cool.
And then what? You know, you just got to roll with it. But if you make your bed, you know, be willing to lie in it. And a lot of times I was lying in it.
I remember having bloody hands in the summer from no gloves every once in a while, because your edge, you just catch a burr or something like that, and then your hands are wet from the snow. It just looked gnarly.
If that didn't get you, it was the salt brine that they put in the snow to set it up, man. That was like insult to injury. I don't know who came up with that big idea, but man, I just would get the gnarliest scrapes on my elbow, and then it just felt like someone took salt and just packed it in there.
Oh yeah, that's true, man. Kilgore Trout, which parts of Baker helped you evolve your game the most? And he put in there the canyon, natural half pipe, or chair one. But I bet he just meant, is there somewhere on Baker that you felt gave you, like, you know, that you would go maybe train at, or that gave you an edge over, you know, other people when you go to a session?
You know, the whole place is freaking amazing. The whole place allows itself to be your personal skate park at all times, you know, throughout the winter. But the canyon, hidden wave, hidden into the canyon with a certain succession of jumps that we always looked forward to in the springtime. That was like a snowboard park before snowboard parks were a thing. The way that the snow would come down into the canyon and just make these perfect pyramid hips. I couldn't wait till springtime to hit.
I could remember following you down the canyon. You were riding by yourself, I think, and you rode so fast and blasted off those pyramid hits so big that, like, we just couldn't. It's 30 years later, I still remember it. Like, that was crazy. That run was steep. And so, like, we were just trying to hold on, you know what I mean? And hit the little hits. But you guys had your own total way of riding that mountain that was, like, inspiring. Like, and made it obvious why you guys were pro.
It just, you know, we had great role models. You know, we had Carter Turk, Jeff Fulton, Craig Kelly, you know, the Oi, Jason Bassarich, Jason Loeb, Worm, all those guys, Hollenbeck, they were, like, man, very crucial in showing us the lines, you know, like allowing us to see the full potential of what that mountain had to offer, and then doing things off of it that just were like, that kind of were inspiring for us to want to give it our best shot.
Yeah, that's rad. That's super rad. I saw a photo of Fulton today. I don't know if I can send it to you. I should have. Sometimes you can. I don't know. I don't know how this thing works. People have figured that out by now. But Fulton just doing an ollie at the 86 Worlds that Ken Ock put on. And you could see that Fulton style, man. Like, that's the thing. I picked out Fulton from, he's just riding down at Baker. I'm like, that guy knows what the fuck he's doing. Just from just watching him turn. You're like, Jeff Fulton is one of the smoothest operators on a snowboard that's ever existed.
Yeah, he really, I mean, those guys would put in lines where we'd see and we would just go, oh, who the fuck was that, you know? who went up there and did that line? Or there was a turn on top of chair one over the waterfall where it's just an overhanging ledge diving board with consequence off the edge, and first chair I would always see a freaking track on this line, and I would be like, who the fuck was that? And how did they push it so far out onto the edge to get this turn that was so glorious, and it was something that, it was a dream line, but it seemed like that dream had always been realized by somebody before we had a chance to get up there and get to it. And then I find out that it's like, you know, Dano and Craig racing to get that turn, and that one turn is so beautiful. I understand why it was such a contest between the two to be able to crack it first.
Did you ride with those guys a bunch, or were they just, you were just a young kid and you were on a different deal?
When I was a Grom, you know, it wasn't something that we necessarily got together and joined forces on the hill. We were always the younger crew looking up to those guys and seeing them as if they were fucking Sasquatch, you know, like Sasquatch sighting. And like, it wasn't until later on that, you know, we were able to connect on more of a level, with snowboarding being our glue, and enjoying what we each did together for a small window. And I'm really thankful for that opportunity, because I learned a lot from him in those times, but really unfortunate that he was taken from us so early. I feel that we had a lot more growth and evolution as humans on a snowboard.
Yeah. He really he blazed a path that was just like so inspiring. Like, I can remember when he quit competitions being the guy that was like, no, I want to see more Craig competing, you know, like I loved his style, his like professionalism, all that stuff. And I didn't get it at first. Like, what, he's going to just go do turns? Like, wouldn't you rather be in the air? Oh, maybe he's going to go do big like cliffs, like, you know, Parada and Farmer. No, he's going to do like soul shredding. Like, it didn't even exist in my lexicon. It was like what someone would do if they were really old. And he wasn't old when he left. He was at his prime. So, yeah.
I mean, look at us now. Look where I'm setting. You know, I'm up here in Nelson, BC in Baldface Lodge, something that was like really important, this area for Craig. And he kind of like, he pioneered this opportunity. And, you know, I have nothing but thanks.
Yeah.
Because really, without his awakening of what the backcountry had to offer, and then sharing it with us in the small way and opportunity that he did, it just gave you an option, man, to go out into nature and in the mountains and truly enjoy a pure passion that we're blessed to be able to enjoy.
He's still inspiring these kids, right? Like, the Burton kids these days, like, if I'm speaking out of school here, but like, you want to go into the backcountry if you're at the top of your game, just because like it's not enough to just be like a robotic pipe jock kid. You're not snowboarding if that's the thing that you're doing, and I think in their hearts these kids feel it. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to see this generation evolve out of that contest category and start taking a lot of the tricks and stuff they've been doing on the X Games and do tours, man. I can't wait to see it applied to a big mountain setting. And I think you're starting to see that with like McMorris, man. I saw a couple things of him like riding Heli someplace and just blasting off these huge cornices. You know, Travis is a great example of that. Taking the highest level of contest riding and then applying it to a fucking wicked backcountry landscape in a backcountry setting. You know, that makes me happy inside when I see that. You know, it really like, it gives me hope for the future of where snowboarding is going, because man, it's something that means so much to me, and I get so much enjoyment out of it, that I really like to see that being put on the forefront of, you know, a high level of snowboarding, not only on a contest, in a contest environment, but just more for yourself, you know, more to feel that need of doing it in a beautiful spot with beautiful people, with no one else around and nothing but powder and transition.
All right, another beautiful person I want to bring up, and this is a Corey Octoon question. Hey, Corey, love that guy. What was it like when Noah threw your shovel in AK? I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, man. Okay, we get dropped off on this peak. It's a first descent peak up with hatchets filming for like Project 6 or something. I can't remember exactly where it was coming from, but we got dropped off on this knife edge ridge with a, you know, behind us it was just a rock scree field, probably 1,000 feet, just death. And then to the left was just these spines, wicked spines, and the cornice that we were sitting on top of. First of all, we get out of the helicopter, the guide gets back in and says he wants no part of it. Right out of the gates, I'm thinking, oh, what the shit, you know, this is not good, this is going to be a heavy one. And we get on the cornice, and Noah's poking around looking for an entrance, man, and he finds the smallest gap, and he starts shoveling. shoveling the ledge out. And he's like, hey, man, can I borrow your shovel? And he starts shoveling the ledge out and making this nice bench for him to start his run on. And he was so focused and so, like, hyper, focused on the task at hand that he just took my shovel and winged it behind his head like I was just ready there to catch it, But I was like 10 yards down the line, and he brings his shovel, and the freaking shovel just goes, woo, 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 ba-bing, ting, ting, ba-ting, ting. And I'm like, oh, man. Fuck, there it goes. And then it's like, okay, get ready, 3, 2, 1, dropping, and then boom, he's gone. And then the fucking reality of like, I have to go next, I have to follow him. But man, he was amazing. I really am very thankful for the chance that we had to spend in Tahoe, in Alaska. What an amazing dude, bringing skateboarding with him, inspiring snowboarders to be more skate-minded, skateboarding as the driving force of what you're trying to translate on the snowboard. We owe a lot to him on a lot of different levels, and it's one of those things that life happens whether you like it or not. So you got to make the most out of every moment because you don't know when that moment's not going to be there. And for me and Noah to have that moment up there on the ridge, and fuck the shovel, the shovel was fucking history, but what we were able to experience together was something that I'll never forget, man. We called it Blind Faith. We named that run Blind Faith just because it was like we were looking at a Polaroid picture on the top trying to get a fucking landmark, and we were just like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going, okay, I hope for the best and prepare for the worst, but we both made it down in one piece. It's an amazing run, amazing day. Alaska's an incredible place. I can't wait to get back up there.
Oh, dude, that's so sick. I was talking with you a bit yesterday on the phone, and one of the things that's just absolutely mind-blowing is your memory for these wonderful days, because you've had to have had 1,000 perfect days, I really loved the story of the wave pool in Norway. Can you tell that?
The whole backstory of that, it goes back to like the Stryn Road Gap back in '94. That was the cover of Transworld.
Best.
We were flown over there by this cat named Tom Lochtefeld, and he was the inventor of that standing wave form. That there's one down in San Diego at Mission Beach, and I think there's a permanent one, which was why we were invited over to Telemark, Norway, to be a part of this grand opening of this wave in this theme park that's in Terje's hometown of Telemark. So Tom Lochtefeld flies like myself and Rado Lom, Peter Line, Jeff Brushy, and Hawken was invited. And then there were skateboarders like Tony Hawk, Chris Miller, Danny Way, and then surfers Brock Little and Brad Gerlach. So we all wake up in the morning, we get on the bus, and we go to this freaking theme park, and we're all lined up on the edge of it, and we're looking at this wave, dreaming on how sick it could be, and then we get the call out, man, fire up the pumps. And then he hits the button, and the pumps start, and the water comes rushing around the corner, and it comes right in front of us, and it catches a tear in the fucking pool lining and just rips the fucking pool lining to shit. The whole thing shits the bed right in front of us. There's no wave, nothing's fucking happening, and we got nothing. Okay, we're dead in the water, literally and figuratively. So we got our snowboards, but we're 6 hours out from any mountain, and the closest mountain is Stryn. So, we get in our cars, and I get in. Hawkins got a brand new Bjorn Borg edition, like Nissan 3000 GT, something wicked, man. And he's like, hey, if you want to drive, I'll let you drive all the way up there. And I was like, fucking give me the keys, man. I'd love to have, a chance to drive such a wicked car. So for 6 hours, we're doing like 180K, maybe 200K at times, just fucking flying. He's watching out for the speed cameras. I'm watching the speed on the speedometer, and we're flying all the way up to Stryn. 6 hours, we make it there in record time, probably maybe 4.5, 5 hours out of a 6-hour drive. But we get up there, and at the bottom of the hill, he's like, okay, man, we hit the mountains. let me drive, you know, it's my car, I'm a mountain driver, a mountain kid, fucking, I'll get behind the wheel. So I jump in the passenger seat, and he takes off, man. In the second corner, he comes around hot, just loses traction, boom, slides into the fucking bank, dents his front right quarter up, and I'm just going, man, you know, I felt for him, because a brand new car, and, you know, making the claim that he's a mountain driver and stuff, it must have just been a fucking shitter. But we all had a good laugh about it, and then we get up to Strin, and Strin's just, it's early spring, it's still hard, a little soft in places, and it's just foggy and cloudy, like we couldn't see a thing. And we thought, fuck it, we're gonna take Brock Little and these two surfers up and just go snowboarding with these cats, you know, like we didn't expect to jump. There was no jumps on the mountain. You know, there was maybe a mogul to ollie off if we were lucky into like a gray fucking blanket of unknown. It was like the worst condition actually on the hill. So we took a couple like token runs with these surf cats, and they were stoked, and we were having fun. And then we were like, well, let's just fucking make a shortcut to the car. You know, we'll just go off this backside, and we'll hit the car that way. And we get right up above where the car at, and we stop, and we're fucking looking, and it's just this wicked transition to a perfect road gap with another wicked transition, but it's big, you know, and it's deep. And we're thinking like, wow, man, this is our chance to actually have a jump, you know. But it's like going from 0 to 120, going from ollieing off a mogul to like this massive road gap. So I mean, we were all kind of like, you know, freaking internally. At least I was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? You know, if I have to go, what am I gonna do? And Hawken and I were looking at each other, and he was like, you know, you want a Rochambeau to see who drops in first? And I was like, fuck, hey, you know, let's do it. And I ended up losing, so I had to fucking go. So I'm thinking, man, what am I gonna do? I can't just go straight air off this thing. That would be kind of like, you know, I don't know, with this crew of riders, a straight air just didn't seem like it was applicable. I had to do something that was not only going to like stoke them out, but also pick something that I could go over this massive road gap and do it blindly. So I picked a cab 5 to be able to go off, switch, and then I would be blind to the whole thing until the very last second when I'd come around last 180 and boom, set it down on the landing, and the whole thing would be not even registered in my memory banks because I would be so focused just on like, just keeping my body in line. And I did that, and then I think it really allowed everyone to approach it more comfortably because they had seen like, okay, it's not only is it doable, he just did a freaking cab 5 over it, you know. And then you saw this session that like Rado, Peter, Hawken, man, everyone just threw down some of the sickest shit, just pulled out of their back pocket on a jump that wasn't even supposed to be a jump. I don't even think we patted it down. It was just like from the snowblower pushing snow up over to the edge. It was just like perfect trannies on either side. It couldn't have been a better scenario to attempt this. And man, it really it validated our whole trip up there. John Foster was there to capture the image. Like, great crew, great time, something I'll never forget, you know. But it was like the session that wasn't never meant to be.
Supposedly, Hawken said this yesterday, there's footage of that whole session somewhere. He's seen it. So we got to get our hands on that. I'll put that out sometime. That'll be fun to watch. Yeah, unreal, dude. Unreal. Wow, I'm floored. I'm just floored. That's like, I love the idea of dropping in backwards to not, because you have to focus so much harder on what you're doing as opposed to focus on what could be happening. If you straight air it, you're going to be thinking the whole way like about your speed, how fast am I going? Plus, you're spinning, so you have to go faster. That's the crazy part to me, is that like, you know, you're going to jump a shit ton of speed. You kind of almost want to just like check and see if it's even doable.
With a road gap like that, there was like, it was all or nothing, you know. You couldn't just like, let me do a speed check and see how if I can, you know, make the knuckle. It was like do or die, So whatever level I was at in snowboarding at the time, for some reason in my head, I thought it would be safer to go switch at it in cab 5. I don't know. I can't justify or find reason for it now, but at the time it just seemed like a better idea. The second one was the front 3 that John ended up getting the shot for the cover off of. I think it was my second attempt off of that jump.
So that cover shot is a front 3 off that exact jump you're talking about. I didn't write his name down. What was it like? This is a listener asked. What was it like the first time you hit the Baker Road gap? Was that after or before the Strin one?
I think it might have been after. I think I jumped the Baker, around the same time. I think Strin was 94, but Baker 95, 96, really shortly there afterwards. And that Baker Road gap being such an iconic jump that, man, Fulton, shots of Fulton off of it, shots of Farmer shirtless. Man, hey, if you were nervous about it before and you seen that photo, you're like, all right, fuck it, fucking Sean just did it without a fucking t-shirt, man, I'm going. But it's not so much the gap as it is the run-in on that. And I just heard a funny story about Kearns, man. Kearns said he sat up there and he fucking pounded beers until he got the liquid courage enough to jump that fucking road gap. And that's what what a wicked, that's the level of how gnarly that thing is, But hey, big shout out to Kearns.
My wife just was brought a piece of paper, said, stop drinking so much. It's distracting. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, no problem, baby. Thanks, honey. But that's pretty timely because for Kearns, oh my God. What a generous human being with his
beautiful human, man.
Yeah.
Miss him dearly, and I'm looking forward to reconnect with him here shortly. Ever since the borders shut down, I kind of stayed put up in Canada and just hunkered down on the side of Kootenay Lake and exercising the right to live righteously in a hobo fashion. And it seems like all roads are led up to this moment right now, and this is the time for me to apply all those little fucking bike camping trip, family camp trip, living trips, and now it's applied to what we have going in this current situation. And it seems almost surreal how beautiful it is up here and how the compassion for what's happening someplace else in the world is of the utmost. But how lucky and fortunate we are to be in such a beautiful spot riding this one out. It doesn't seem like, there's the hospital in Nelson is a ghost town. Things are people are respecting people's space and keeping, all the fundamentals of cleanliness and hygiene in order. But it just doesn't seem like it's really real, man. It seems like we're floating around in this dream up here, and definitely blessed on the opportunity to be out in nature and let nature kind of allow us the freedom to get out into the snow and find recreation and go snowboarding in a time where every place else is shut down.
You went today. What was that like?
It was wicked, man. We got a couple hot pow turns off of, right outside of the lodge. Did a quick couple sled laps, and I had a chance to exercise my full plumage on my cape. I've had a lot of downtime in this whole scenario, so I've been trying to construct denim capes because I've always secretly wanted to rock a denim cape. Maybe it was Turbo Negro, maybe it was Hank von Helveta that really was inspiring, but now's the time to live out your dreams. And today, I think I just did.
I love it, Jamie. You've got quite the camp set up down on the lake. You know what? I'm seeing a lot of his skateboarders everywhere again. Every parking lot's got skateboarders in it. All the spots are filled with kids skating without being harassed. It's kind of cool. And it's the same with the camping, right? You can go and you can camp somewhere fucking awesome and have that epic spot.
I heard something tragic the other day, and it was down in San Clemente where they took sand and filled in the bowl of the skate park so no one could go and freaking skate it, man.
Ugh.
How sacrilegious is that? I mean, give the kids an outlet to, like, I don't see kids holding hands and skateboarding, you know?
No.
Ever. They're always social distancing. And they're in their own head, in their own world, skating for themselves, by themselves. They could be in a full park, but man, you always have that space, that distance. You're not like, I couldn't think of a more responsible thing to be doing during this whole scenario than getting out and utilizing a wicked skate park. Thankfully, the skate park up in Nelson is still open for business, and it's one of the things that has been keeping me sane through this insane time.
So you grew up on Vashon Island. I didn't know that until you told me. Vashon Island is where K2 was made. I went out there when the K2 factory was switching over to China, so they still had some people there, and they were just trying to figure out what was going to be the next, phase of K2. But you're 20 minutes from Seattle, but you feel like you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Yep. It's an island that's 5 miles long and 3 miles wide. And it's, a couple thousand people for population. And it feels like when I was a kid, if I had a BMX bike, I felt like a king, man. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. And, it was the early days before Vashon that really kind of laid the groundwork to where I feel so comfortable camping now. My parents were, I came from a very hippie-rich environment with my parents. They're the best people in the world, but they were kind of just trying to figure themselves out and get a business going we were trying to grow sprouts and start a sprout farm. But our attempt to make it out of Vancouver, Washington battleground and make it up into the Seattle area and find a place to settle down and start, a foundation for this new business, we did a lot of camping. We stayed at some friends' houses up in Bellingham. We camped out in Linwood for a couple months, and then we found ourselves in Saltwater State Park, kind of just south of SeaTac Airport, in between Seattle and Tacoma. And I think that's why I feel so comfortable now, hunkered down, camping out in a hobo setting, is because that's all I remember as a child. Is like every shit was outside or in a honey bucket. Every meal was on a campfire, we washed our dishes in the creek, we slept in a tent, and that to me is like, there's a comfort in that. And then to now have the opportunity to like find a little spot that we're comfortable with, set up camp, and just live in a simple outdoors environment, man, I really truly feel blessed at the opportunity to be up in this area to be able to do that, because I don't think it'd be the same if I was anyplace else.
Yeah, do you still have a house down in Auburn?
Yep, I still got 20. I got 20 acres in a compound, and I have a great group of guys that have been helping me keep an eye on it while I've been gone. And I want to give a shout out and a big thanks to those guys, man. Can't wait to get back down and hit the road with you.
I'm pretty sure we just got a shout out from Travis Rice. So, hey Travis.
How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man.
You been on some trips with Travis?
I've done a couple, but I've been really lucky to be up at Baldface when he's been doing the ultra-natural and supernatural contests. And I even did the natural selection with him. As I was playing in a band, he invited us out there to be the musical presentation after the qualifying on the bull riding. And that was like, and just getting a chance to I've done some riding out in Jackson, but just more hanging out with him as a human, man. Great dude, the highest level of what we do, and does it with a smile and such a great attitude, man. He's a righteous cat.
Speaking of a couple of righteous cats, I've got a great question from Keith 1971, and he's asking for your best Aaron Vincent story. And I'd like to even also mention David Vincent, because I used to get those two mixed up. And I think both of those guys are fucking insanely rad. I want to get both of them on the show, obviously, but you've probably got stories with both those dudes, right?
Like David Vincent. I mean, David Vincent, it takes me back to the first time I ever went to Europe, where I had Doug Palladini, bless his heart, come to me and say, hey man, you're a kid from Auburn, Washington. You haven't left the United States. If you wanted to go anywhere in the world, where would you go? And I was like, man, I've never been to Europe before. And he's like, all right. He's quietly said, okay. And then about a month later, he calls me up and goes, I got a plane ticket for you and Jason Bassarich. We're going to France and Switzerland. And I was just like, what the, are you kidding me? But he allowed me to go over and see that the world is bigger than just the horizon that you can see from your front door. That how easy it was to get a ticket, go over there, get a train ticket, ride the train, and find yourself in just a freaking foreign place with wicked snowboarding. And one of our first connections over there was with Vianney Tissot and David Vincent. And we ended up staying in David Vincent. He had a wicked house, man. It was by Val-d'Isère or Teen area. I can't remember exactly, but it was an old brothel. And he had just got this place, and there was probably 13 rooms that had numbers on the door and shit, and the place was just stripped down to its bare essentials. I don't even think it had furniture in there. There was no beds in any of the rooms, but he just said, hey, make yourself at home. It's going to be colder than shit, but there's 13 rooms to choose from. Pick one. I don't care what, which ones, just make yourself at home. And that extension and that, giving a piece of comfort to someone that was so far away from home and making me feel like a brother, and like there was something that he brought to that trip that I'll never forget, man. Just him as a wicked human and a wicked individual.
You guys rode similarly as well. Like, it was all style. You guys together riding would have been such an epic time.
Man, it was times I'll never forget. So really, really important for like building the foundation of just like having fun, first and foremost. Not taking shit too seriously, and really just focusing on putting smiles on our faces.
That's sick. And then how about AV? Because that's a completely different dude in a completely different part of the world. When was your first time down to Tahoe? Would you have ridden with Aaron pretty early on?
Yeah, mad respect to Aaron, because he was always a kick-ass skateboarder too, and just the times that we were hunkered down in Tahoe through a gnarly storm where all we had was to go and like session the rail behind Incline High School, or out front of like somebody's house. I can't remember if it was Hatchett's or whose house it was exactly, but we just built this tranny up to this pole, and just like the simple things, man, that we now take for granted as just kind of fucking around. But back then it was like you had nothing better to do, so why not make the best out of what you got? And to have those times with him, and just riding up in Alaska too with him. Aaron's a fucking incredible snowboarder that has really the unique ability to make you feel comfortable when shit's fucking gnarly. He can lighten it up and make you giggle before you shit your pants dropping into some hairball line. Like that's a rare quality, and Aaron Vincent has got it in spades, man. I miss him.
That's so sick. All right, here's one more from Sean Grunhagen. He's got a quote from you at the border. This is not even a question. This is just a quote of you at the border, and it definitely makes me think he's telling the truth. You came back in from the border, and you said, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
Crossing the border has always been touchy and such a sensitive like subject, but there came times when I was like, man, you got to tell them what they want to hear. You can't fucking lie, you can't, but you can embellish. You can make it whatever you want, really, but I tried to make it whatever was going to make it easiest for me to get back up and across, because I knew that the gloriousness of what this place held, and it was something worth fighting for.
You consider yourself half Canadian, from what I hear.
Yeah, from the waist down.
Waste.
No, I heard that from somebody, and I had to like rehash that quote because that was just too good to let go of, you know. But it's a beautiful spot with beautiful people, man, and it's amazing the difference on just people's like take on the life, and you know, and we're so polluted down in the lower 48 with all the government bullshit that's happening. You know, I don't want to really get into that stuff, but it's really like I see a difference. And I feel a difference up here, and it's refreshing.
Yeah, Tony Welch sent me a video of our prime minister that they auto-tuned and made him sing a song about speaking moistly, and I thought, that's dope, man. Yeah, we got a good
Even he knew it as soon as the fucking words left his lips, man. He knew, like, oh, shit. What did I just say, man? I'm never going to be able to live this one down. And if that's the only thing he has to worry about, man, I think he's doing pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
You know, like compared to what we got to deal with down south, you know, at least he comes out of his front door and addresses his neighbor, whoever's listening. You know, that's how it makes you feel. You know, and that's, I don't get that anyplace else.
Should we do a Sabbath break right now?
Yeah, let's do a Sabbath break. What's your favorite Sabbath song, Eric?
Jeez, just off the top of my head, The Wizard. From that particular, you know, it's so fun. It's like a fun song.
Yeah, you know, Symptom of the Universe was always a favorite, but since we're up in the mountains, Snowblind would be applicable.
Oof, yes.
You know, and just the title track, Black Sabbath. You know. Who is this that stands before me? Figure in black that points at me. I turn around and start to run, but find out I'm the chosen one. I mean, really. Thank you, Ozzy.
Amen.
That
Amen
came from Ozzy
that.
316.
I was talking with Kearns yesterday about, you know, just generally speaking, life, obviously. I was having a conversation with Kearns. There's no way to stop it from happening. But I realized in that conversation that for some of you guys, you got to a certain level of fame that could put you at risk of, you know, feeling shitty at the end of a career. You know what I mean? And I've always, you can ask my kids, they love, well, maybe they don't love it, but they've heard it a million times. I ask, what the hell is Iron Man about? And I just realized that talking to Kearns is that it's a fallen hero story. And it's a story of somebody who saved the whole of humanity. And now there's nothing left really for him to do. He's kind of sitting there and nobody's like giving him the accolades. They've long forgotten. You know, maybe generations have gone by and kids are like, what the fuck is with the big robot dude? He's always just sitting there. He doesn't say anything. So in your own life, have you experienced moments where you meet people and you wish they knew you were fucking Jamie Lynn? You know what I mean?
You know, to be honest, like, I really always longed for anonymity, to be anonymous, just to be a regular jerk off that fucking went about his business and did his stuff just because he loved to do it, you know. And I tried not to place myself on anything higher than the next person next to me, you know, because we all are human. We all struggled with the same shit, you know, and how could I be better than you? How could I be better than him? You know, just because my ability, I push myself to become as good as I can on that snowboard. I never wanted to take anything away from anybody else's experience because I knew how important it was for them to experience that, you know, and how much it meant to me. And for me to rob somebody for the opportunity just because I felt better than them, that'd be a shitty thing to do. So I really tried to just come at it from, you know, like, I always thought, fuck, I've never had a fucking day job. You know, other than growing alfalfa sprouts, I've never went and worked a 9-to-5 job. And there were times when I was just like, fuck it, man. I want to go get a job at a grocery store packing fucking shelves just to experience what it was like to be a regular civilian. You know? But then I've come to terms that maybe those who snowboard aren't regular civilians, that were actually mercenaries that work in and around the normal laws of mankind. But I'm still trying to hash that out.
Has it ever been a challenge for you to live up to that expectation? You know what I mean? Like you're having a shit day, you don't really feel like going riding, and some kid like me, like what we did this year, I was like, Jamie, you want to come for a lap, dude? And the guys that came with us, Phil, shout out to Phil, and Dave and Brad, like the whole way we were looking at each other going, that's fucking Jamie Lynn, dude. Like that is insane. This is the most insane lap of the year. This is great. So, but do you ever have it where you're like, fuck, man, there's a lot of pressure for me to be Jamie Lynn?
You know, there were times in the past where I might have put myself in scenarios that I knew I wasn't physically capable with, like a bum knee or something. Something was messed up, but I would be like obligated to go to a contest in Japan, or, you know, I think I did a trip with Travis like that, where I went on this trip, man, and I know he was kind of fishing to see, like, you know, how's he riding? I think we just missed.
It's technical difficulties.
Lost connection.
Go live with Baldy's beautiful. Thank you to Jeff Pensiero. Take this moment to thank all the sponsors of the show again. Vans. Hey, I'm back. I think I had a 1 hour time limit. Maybe you had a 1 hour time limit. Who knows?
I think that's what it is. The time limit was hit, and you know what?
Look at that. I love that Perillo. That's a great collection of boards there. So I'm just going to run through. Actually, let's just talk about Vans, because is it kind of just like luck that you got on Vans at the time? Were you talking with other boot companies? Did you want to be on Airwalk? Like Vans was brand new when you joined up.
You know, I was for a hot minute. I was riding for Airwalk.
Rad.
And then somehow I got connected with Lisa Hudson.
I remember Lisa. She was the best. She was so nice.
She is such a beautiful human, man. And a big shout out to Lisa. Shout out. Love you. Miss you. Can't wait to see you. But she somehow was hooked up with Vans and brought me, her and this another woman named Cheryl. She brought me to Vans one day to have a sit-down meeting with them, and then I sat down with, like, you know, Jared Bevins was one of those cats, you know, is still a part of Vans right now, and started a relationship with him in '96. You know,
Rad.
and out of all the years and all the evolution and where we've gone to now, I could truly say that, man, Vans is one of the most wicked companies that I've ever had the chance to be a part of. They're so, you know, they've gotten so big on that scale, but they've done so much to retain and support their core, not only in their shops with the lines that they produce and allow only the core shops to have, but just with their team riders, you know, and knowing that the importance of legacy and still supporting those riders that have been with them for 20, 30 years. You know, it's the Cabs, the Lance Mountain, Christian Osoyoos, like Tony Alva, you know, all those are just legends. But because of Vans, they are still able, at whatever they are in age, to be able to go out and to continue to do something that means so much to them, and so much love and passion for something that is still being supported by a company like Vans. It speaks volumes to their integrity and to their priority, and they've been right on point all these years. Did you design that first Jamie Lynn boot? That still to this day my favorite boot that I owned. Just like the way it looked, the way it, like, compared to everything else in the market at that time, it was clean lines, not really crazy. It was just fucking beautiful. I repeated on that boot. you know, they really gave me the opportunity to have a blank canvas with that.
Rad.
You know, and picked the materials, did the design of it, was really integral in the whole part of the development of that boot. And it was something that, to have it be whole grain leather was important, and just to have kind of like the design styling that it had was really, you know, it came from my head, but the way that they translated that into an actual boot, it was a true collaboration.
Rad. And you've redesigned like a new boot, right? Like, so they just released a boot for you mid-season this year, or was it available all year? I can't remember.
I think it was kind of a late season release, but it was such limited numbers that it really, you know, it was almost kind of you know, it made it to where there was a lot of people asking me where they could get it and if it was still available, and it hurt my heart to tell them that, you know, sorry, only 500 pairs were made, and if you didn't get it now, hopefully there'd be a chance in the future that we'd re-release something similar. But I always had an issue with like limited release stuff if he didn't back it up the next year with something to actually provide for the people that, you know, didn't get it the first time around.
That really want it, yeah. Create a demand, and you're testing the market. Now, if it worked, you want them to step it up, right?
You know, if we sold out of that limited run and there was still demand for it, like, why not make more and give the people what they want? You know, it was a success. But I'm just truly thankful just for the opportunity, for like, I don't expect anything out of it other than what they've already truly given me, because it's been so much up to this point, man. I'm nothing but thankful.
That's dope. Yeah, Cersei talked on her episode about those boot times being like, that's what bought her house. And I think at that time, I don't know if she said it on the show or not, but you guys were dating and she really pushed for you to get that boot, because, you know, for you might have been busy doing other things or just thought like, it's not that important or whatever, and she stayed on your ass and made sure that you did that. Do you think that kind of led to her being the agent, like you were her first client?
Well, you know, she was always really driven and focused on making the most out of every business opportunity, you know, and she came at it with a certain type of perspective that just was on it, you know, where I was just kind of aloof and like, oh, whatever, this is great, fuck it, you know, like if I got it, cool, if I don't, then fuck it, you know, I'll find it somewhere down the road. But she was really like, hey man, let's get a resume together for you. She helped put together my first resume. She helped, you know, get those resumes out to the right people, and then see the fruit of that nurturing with, you know, what it developed into. But I've never had a team manager before in my life, or someone that helped me out in that respect, other than Cersei Wallace. And Cersei, if you're out there, can't thank you enough, lady.
That's so rad. Do you think that that's where she got that drive to be an agent? She like really enjoyed, you know.
Maybe it was me not taking advantage of it and seeing all that wasted potential, and then going, fuck this guy. You know, I'm gonna go and fucking do it right over here with somebody else. You know, that's
right, sure.
I could totally see that happening, but you know, she's really good at it, even when we were kids.
I'm imagining her just having so much success with you because you're an easy sell, right? Like, okay, I gotta tone down the fandom here, man. I am a huge fan of yours, and you know this. It's awesome. Let's talk about your strategy for life. Like, a lot of guys would have signed those contracts. Not a lot of guys. Most people that I've talked to kind of look at the early days of snowboarding and then into the mid 90s to late 90s and the money that was being given to them, and most of them think, shit, had I known it would have just been a couple of years, I would have made some investments. They don't know what investments. Farmer is like, man, I should have, I could have had a house or whatever. And I feel like most people that cared as much about snowboarding as you, Farmer, guys like that, spent a good amount of your money on going snowboarding, right? Like it was like a job, and it's expensive to live away from home.
To be honest, man, I made and lost $1 million before I was 30 years old, and it was
right.
Fucking off and partying and doing stupid kid shit, and now I've learned the philosophy of like I'd rather not get paid out in one big lump sum for one day out on the hill. I'd rather get a little bit that lasts a long period of time and still continue to do what I love with just a simple means. I was able to put enough away that I bought some property that's paid off, and I have a shop on it, and that's really the only thing. Like I made SEP IRA investments and all that stuff thinking that I was doing something for the future and my nest egg and stuff. And then the stock market took a shit and wiped my portfolio to absolute zero. And then all that money that I thought was going to be there, I lost faith in that, and I lost faith in wealth. And then I opened my eyes to like, I seen people living in a manner that they didn't have anything financially, but they were the richest human beings that I came across just for their openness to experience life for what is true. And I think the more I focused on that and broke it down to like, it'd be nice to have a nice car, but I don't need it. I spend all my money to get a bike to hit the road in the summer on, and that's where I get my enjoyment. But the bike didn't cost the fucking $100,000. It might be under $5,000. But whenever you can afford, you make do with what you got. And that's what I've kind of learned to do, is just be happy with what I have, and not like, someone told me like you have regrets, and that's living in the past, and you're anxious and you're living in the future. And I really tried to be just present, in my own shoes, and being happy with what I have control over within my peripheral. Nothing's pulling me out of here, and nothing's dragging me back either. I'm just trying to be right here, right now.
That's really, really good. Yeah. How was fishing yesterday?
It was fucking wicked, but I'll tell you, I think I might have told you the story. The second I get out of the lake, man, I'm in a canoe and I'm fishing hard on this spot, and I'm thinking, man, there's just no fish in this fucking lake. And then a minute after I get out and I pull the canoe up on the beach, a fucking eagle swoops down right where I was fishing and pulls a wicked beauty lake trout out, and then sits on the piling and just as if telling me, you're an idiot, eats his dinner right in front of my camp. And I'm thinking, man, I'm just not doing it right.
That's the live it in the moment thing, though, right? Those things, noticing those things, like that experience is like, it's the best. I mean, that's why I love snowboarding, is that it takes you out of that thinking about what you gotta do and what you have done. You can't be thinking about what you're having for dinner if the consequences of what you're doing is like breaking your arm or getting hurt, or even just like you're focusing on it because it's fun, not because it's work or anything like that. I feel blessed to have grown up in a place where you could work a 9 to 5 and then you could still go up the mountains after work. And you're thinking about all those people who went home and they kicked their feet up and cracked a beer and watched TV, and you're like, I'm looking at this beautiful city. I'm looking down from the lift. That's the best thing to do at Mount Seymour. When people go up there at night and you go up that mystery chair and you go, oh yeah, you remember, hey, turn around, take a look. It's a mind blower every time.
It's a unique experience, man, that only that ski area with you guys enjoying it get a chance to experience that, man. There's no real place like it in the world. to be so close to a city, but then have such a wicked little snowboard area. You know, it's a cool spot.
Yeah. I've been breaking it down with a few people, just like, because Seymour is one of those things that if you don't understand, you don't understand. Seymour is small, but if that ski area was on some huge mountain like Whistler, it would be the busiest part of the mountain because it's so rad. The transitions everywhere are so good. But like if you went there with a magazine in your hand that says, top 10 resorts in Canada, you go to Mount Seymour, you're like, what the fuck is this? There was Banff, there was Whistler. What? This is tiny and there's no fall line, and what do you do here? How's this place so great? But like, just look around, look at the people that got the big smiles on their faces and follow them down a run, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's like the best run of any mountain anywhere. It's rad.
I always thought it was cool that on a clear night with maybe a little cloud cover above Grouse or Seymour, that from Bellingham, Washington, you could see the lights reflecting on the clouds from night skiing.
That's dope.
So it always kind of brought me up there, even though I was back in the States.
Yeah. What's your home resort right now?
I try to winter up at Mount Baker.
Yeah.
There's no place like it in the world, and the people that are up there are incredible. We've been working on the Coal Pad skate park in the summer, trying to develop a righteous place to skate when snowboarding is not an option. And I can't tell you how proud I am to see that come to fruition with help from guys like Ryan Davis and just, Little B.
Little B. Let's talk about Little B. I met him last year or 2 years ago. The best, right? What a dude.
Yeah, he's really been coming back into town and trying to build energy into that skate park, utilizing what he's been doing for the last 10, 15 years with Grindline, and now applying that to a local spot that he's had so much history and so much he's a thread that makes that fabric what it is. He's built into that community whether he likes it or not. And to see him come back around and be a part of it, I'm thankful that he made the choice to come back up the last couple of years, because it's good seeing him around.
Yeah. He's a shy person. I want to have him on the show, but I don't want to make him uncomfortable. You were a shy person when you were a kid, from what I hear. From Kearns, kind of like you were just a quiet guy. You're pretty talkative these days. Is that something that you learned?
I guess I grew up with my grandpa telling kids are supposed to be seen, not heard, and don't speak until you're spoken to, and kind of stuff like that, to where I was always I always wanted to let my actions speak for themselves, man. I didn't want to put anything out there verbally until I could back it up physically. And then I think playing in a band where I was thrust into this position to be a front man and to be able to try to sing for Candy Coated with those awesome dudes, and a big shout out to all those guys that I was involved in that whole experience with, especially Jack and Dino, amazing human. But it just gave me this kind of confidence of being out there in front of people. And if you have that opportunity and you don't have something to say, well, then step back and go back to your shadow, But I guess through snowboarding and the opportunity to be thrust out there, it gave me a comfort. And as I get older, I just don't give a shit anymore, to be honest. My hang-ups, I don't have many when it comes to that stuff anymore. It's like, this is who I am, the way I am, and if you don't like it, well, then fucking suck it. I'm 100 miles and running and not tripping.
That's dope, dude. That's so dope. Yeah, you're making me think about Wes Makepeace, because that was one of the things that he talked about when I was with him at the bank slalom this year, was his nerves on stage. He was like, dude, I think he talked about, just before a show, throwing up from nerves. And love that guy. Just such a real dude. right?
So stoked when I have the chance to hang out with him, because it's always like, you know, he goes out and hides out on the farm all summer. And then I see him probably December 1st. He comes back around Baker. And then we'll start playing guitar around the 15th of December, maybe do a show for New Year's somewhere in a house in Glacier. And then a month down the line, we might get another show someplace else. And he'll send me some video text messages of his set. That's what he did this year when we had a show out in Denver. We hadn't had a chance to practice at all, so he just sent me these video text messages of him jamming, and I just would put them on Bluetooth and jam with him, and that was our, you know, virtual practice session. But then when we got to the venue, and it's like, fuck, we've never really done a sound check before, you know. I don't even think he knows how to set up like a true stage sound, and I sure in the hell don't, you know. So we're trying to, like, two wrongs don't make a right, but we're trying to get it to where we can both hear each other, and when that doesn't happen and it's not set up correctly, that's where the confidence in yourself and your own ability starts getting fucking chipped away, is because, you know, you need to hear that, and you need to have that stage sound set up. And I like to be that person that he can look to on the side of the stage, and fucking I could just make a fucking funny face or something and like calm him down, because if he gets caught in his own head, then it's just it you know, could take off, and he starts, like, we don't have a drummer, so his metronome is our timepiece, you know, his pick tempo is our metronome. Yeah. So when he's nervous or anxious or excited, he'll just start fucking gassing it. You know, and his pick tempo goes fucking nuts. And I'm sitting there behind him just like running to keep up, and, you know, like always right one step behind him. But it's something that, you know, or if we go out of tune, you know, something funky will happen, and it's usually like, oh shit, here it goes, you know, come back. But he's easy to reel back in. And I do the same thing. I'm not saying I'm fucking Mr. Rock Solid up on stage, because I might look like it, but internally I'm shitting my pants, you know, always. But a lot of times our shows that we play, I look out in the crowd, and it's all of our friends and family that fucking love us, and like we could go up there and just shit ourselves, and they would still, like, it would be an endearing quality, you know. But I really wish, you know, to get out of one's head and to look out into the crowd and see those friends and find that acceptance and love, and like just they're there with us, for us. So you can't do anything wrong, you know. And if the song sucked, well then fuck that song anyway. The thing was a piece of shit, you know. Throw it in the fucking garbage and let's do another one. We got 10 more.
You play a lot of music up at the lodge when you're up there, hey? You're the house cat of the lodge. I was talking with Kevin Sansalone yesterday. I kind of already knew this, but Kevin works up there, and he says to see the looks on snowboarders' faces when they pop in the lodge, and there you're sitting there playing guitar or smoking a joint. They get to smoke a joint with you. They're just like, it's just priceless.
Jeff Pensiero is an amazing dude who's allowed me to really fall in love with snowboarding again by inviting me up to this incredibly beautiful spot that it's not easy to get to, and to have the chance to snowboard on a basis that's just good powder, good terrain, great guides, great staff, really make you feel like it's with snowboarding, for snowboarding. You know, he's a snowboarder, he's not a skier. Every other operation that I'd ever been to had always been focused on their skiers, their skier guides, and you were made to feel like a second-class citizen, always. You know, and when I came up here, it was just like, welcome home. You know, welcome, we've been waiting. And now, please enjoy what we have to offer, because it's going to fill you with so much freaking stoke and so much fire that you fill your pockets with it, you know, and then you take that away from you, and you can get as much powder in one fucking 4-day trip up here as you can get all year at your local resort. So when people say, man, it costs so much to get up there, well, what you get out of it, 9 times out of 10, will be so much more than what you ever expected and anticipated, you know, and it's an incredible experience. And how fortunate and thankful, how much gratitude I have for Jeff and his family for allowing me to come up and enjoy that with him.
Yeah, and we're stoked that he let you up there today to record this up there. It's just so beautiful. When we were talking before we started, and you're talking about going, you know, for some rips today on the sleds. Like, the older I get and the more I break it down, I never really thought about it before, but there is such a thing as a perfect resort day. I had one with Dave Hatchett this year. So much fun. There's a perfect sled day. I had one this year with my good friends, the Samo brothers and Jordy, and oh my God, just it's a whole other level. You know, and there's perfect cat days and there's perfect heli days, and I mean, snowboarding is just so much fucking fun. It's just insane that we're so lucky that we just picked this random thing, you know? Like, I don't know how you got into it, but I got into it through a desire to surf, and there's no surfing anywhere. So that led to like skateboarding, and then winter came, and then it's freezing, there's nowhere to skate. And snowboarding was like this, all of a sudden you could blast. You were better right off the bat. And I at least a few times a year, I'm like, my life is so insanely rich because of snowboarding. What do other people love like this?
I don't know how I got here. I don't know, you know, I know what's happened to amount to this, but if you would have asked me when I was at Grom, like, fuck, would you ever think that you could take this and go where I went with it? You know, it wouldn't even have registered on my radar. But I just think it was a lot to do with Craig, man. Craig really going out to Island Lake, and like the small stuff that was trickling back from up here down to the States that we were picking up on. It's like I saw a couple, him and, you know, Gallup, and just a couple of photos of him riding powder, and this is beautiful landscape in this foreign land of just wicked geological formations and a massive amount of snow that fell on it, you know, creating this incredible riding environment that was not out of touch, because I just witnessed someone who I looked up to go and then bring that gift back to us, you know, and so that's what really solidified the fact that if I really want to get out into, you know, a beautiful spot and ride powder, this is the place that you had to come and find it.
We're super stoked that you're in Canada, dude. Like, for so many reasons. You look healthy, you look happy, you know, you're in a good spot. And you know, over the years, there's been times where we're scared a little for, you know, what's Jamie doing right now? Where is he? Is he safe? You know, and knowing that you're good, like seeing your face, seeing your smiling face today, and talking with you over the last few days, getting ready for this thing, it's like you're the fucking best, dude. Like, you're the best. You're the best ambassador we could have for this sport. And you're following in the footsteps of a pretty heavy dude, like with Craig.
But you know as well as I do that it's not always been a fucking smooth road, you know. I've definitely dealt with my own demons and addictions, and it's been, you know, there's a lot of years where I was fucking going down a shitty path. And places like this allowed me to see a bigger picture, to get outside of my head and to get outside of my own self, to realize that maybe you didn't need a vice or a drug to take you someplace. You just needed to put yourself in the fucking right environment to help with the distraction and space away from the stuff that was dragging you down, you know. And
we just got a question about your art, because we haven't talked about it at all. Ginger Army Northwest. Could you talk about your first artwork that you were stoked on and the progression? Because I think it's tied in, right? Like when you're feeling shitty, would art help you kind of come out of that as well?
You know, it was a lot. I think just having the opportunity to do my snowboard graphics all these years has helped me develop as an artist what I am today. Thankful for that opportunity. And there are certain graphics throughout the years that stand out as something that was like evolutionary steps for my own creative growth. I lived behind a tattoo studio in San Francisco for a couple of years, Everlasting Tattoo, and I was around a artistically rich environment of tattoo artists that were able to spontaneously come out with amazing art for whatever client walked through the door, you know, and to see that, how they tapped into that and how they utilized it to like stoke people out, man. It really made me see what was possible with that kind of artwork and graphic. And I translate tattoo into my graphic application because that's kind of how I approach it. You know, I want it to be as aesthetically graphic, and I want it to grab your attention as it's flying by going 100 miles per hour, you know, and I think tattoos do a really good job at that, and tattoo artists are really incredible at being able to capture that. But there were times in 96, 97 where I was hanging out with these guys, Ian Morris, Shannon Gabriel, you know, Crap and Knobhead, two of the shop kids. You know, we shared an apartment, but just being in that environment, watching them paint all the time, that's all I wanted to do. You know, it's fucking just paint. And what came out of that was one of the alien graphic, where it was the two aliens or the three aliens, and their spaceship was the lips and the trees was their hair. And if you look at it, it looked kind of like a self-portrait of somebody, you know. But that painting in particular, I thought was a true evolutionary like step for me artistically, just directly related to the inspiration that I got from these guys that I was hanging out with.
Rad. And you're still painting now? Are you painting down by the lake at all? You
know, I've been carving a little bit more than actually painting, just because the driftwood and shit, and the inability to get my hands on some good acrylic paint and a canvas right now has been kind of difficult. Not only just because all the shops and stuff are closed in town, and it's kind of appointment only, or I'd have to like get it online, and I don't really have a mailing address, you know, being hobo and such. But I've been making do. I've got a couple canvases that I've pulled out of a closet that I've had at the Pensieros, and been working on those a little bit. You know, no matter how much is shut down, we're still on track to get graphics going with LibTech, you know, and that's, you know, bent metal deadlines are up for the bent metal graphics, and then I'm working on some Dynamis and some Banana Blaster stuff for LibTech. So even though we're kind of in this, like, everything's on pause and on hold, I'm still trying to keep at least, you know, up on getting those graphics done, and just so when things fire back up, they're ready to go, you know.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it gives me the opportunity to kind of like, man, what a pleasant distraction. Setting up a funky easel out of driftwood, hanging out on the beach and painting. I couldn't think of a better place to do it.
And sewing. Yeah, your girl's saying and sewing capes, right? So that's dope.
Hey, sewing too, man. You can't count that out. Because where else are you going to get the fucking costumes? You can't like run down to the store, to the costume store anymore. They don't sell capes at Walmart.
All right, how about this one? Let's finish it up, because my phone is actually going to die. I would do this all day with you, Jamie. I love talking to you. A listener just asked, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically, what's your take on like quad corks and stuff like that? Like, You did inverted spins pretty early in the game, and you were a big influencer bringing in style and progression to freestyle snowboarding. How do you feel about what they're doing now?
I love to see progress. I love to see evolution. I love to see people taking, like, I feel thankful that I was able to just be able to place a brick in the foundation of what the next generation is now building off of. It's the natural evolution of mankind and humanity. And to see kids taking what we had started humbly, doing simple things, but maybe doing it with whatever style we could add to it, but trying to take that same philosophy and just grow with it and evolve into one more cork, one more spin, 10 feet farther. It's that much more radical, you know, and I know a lot of people give it shit because it loses a lot of that soul and style and really feeling something. It's hard to feel something when you're so like, wow, it's all over the road. But I think it just goes to show the true ability of the kids these days to add that gymnastic sense of just being able to do these multiple rotations and flips. And when you come out of it, you got it, you know? You got your head on straight. That's not easy, you know? And I don't hate on anything. I try not to discriminate, man. It's all fucking beautiful, and it's all something that we love to do. And there's so many different genres, and there's so many different, like, you know, so cool stuff that's gone in so many different directions. How could I take anything away from that, you know? Like, we've been fighting so hard to attain a certain level of, like, acceptance just in our sport and in snowboarding in general. I feel like we're now in this groundbreaking territory, a new frontier of acceptance that is beautiful. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Stoked to still be a part of it, man.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I saw a rad quad cork maybe this morning or yesterday in my Insta feed, and I was like, the guy didn't win the contest he was in, but he planted a perfect quad. It's about style, right? Like, if you're doing a quad cork and you just barely, your head skins the knuckle on the way in. No, it's really just about style. So somebody who can make a quad cork look insane, wow, like, holy shit. I think it's just one of those things, like, the progression is a dual path where there's some people who are technically getting the trick, but it looks like shit. And then there are some people that the trick exists now, and they're taking it and they're putting their own style on it and doing it in a way that makes you go, wow, that guy stomped that out and it looked good the whole way around. That's pretty fucking epic.
You know, to me, it's like when you're in the middle of a quad cork, there's not a whole lot of time and space to really add much style to it. So the style that I see is in the last split seconds of them coming around to spot their landing and how they stomp it on the bolts and then right away with their arms relaxed, you know, like, oh, that was nothing. It's not in the act of doing it, but it's in those last seconds of putting the landing gear down that I really see, like, wow, that kid's got it. You know, he's got, that's fucking, it's natural, it's relaxed, it's like, fucking ain't no shit, you know, I just brought quad cork, I got another one coming at you right now. You know, to me, like, that's fucking beautiful, and it really doesn't matter how crazy shit is, but it's how they calm themselves down to the end and spot that landing and fucking stomp it on the bolts. To me, like, that's the difference between just people doing it and people doing it in a manner that I could really get down with.
Jamie Lynn, thank you for being the guest of the second ever FNRad podcast, live Insta TV, whatever the hell this is. I want to have you give your fans an opportunity to purchase your artwork if that's something you sell. I don't know if you do that, but or any sponsors you want to list off, or anything, any last words that you want to.
All the crew in Auburn, miss you, love you, my friends and family, you know, all the people out there that I wish were a little bit closer, and they will be here shortly. And really, to say a true thanks, Eric, it'd have to be a whole nother episode, brother. But I want to thank you, first and foremost, man, for giving me the opportunity to share with you guys. This has been awesome. And, like, big shout out to Mark Fawcett. Yeah. He's a great dude, and I love him.
I love that guy.
And Mike and Pete, you know, and Emigart and all the Volcom crew and Nook and Kaylin and all those guys, man. If you're listening, I love you. I miss you. Can't wait to get together and have some good times. And thanks for all the people that subscribed and tuned in. You know, hopefully stick around. This is just a preview.
You're the best, Jamie. Thanks a lot, man.
Take care, Eric, man. Have a wonderful day. And I'm gonna go try to get some more laps out in that hot powder.
Get on it, man. So jealous. All right, big love, Jamie. Thanks, man.
Remember, preach the good gospel of Black Sabbath from this point forward till the end of this day, Sunday, day of the Sabbath.
FNRad shout-outs this week to Jeff Pensiero from Baldface Lodge, the true snowboarding pilgrimage mecca. I will go there one day. I will. Justin Hostanek filmed Jamie's side of the conversation. I'm working with past guest TJ Schneider to get a YouTube channel up and running. More on that soon. I want to welcome to the snowboarding podcast realm the Bomb Hole podcast with pro snowboarder Chris Grenier and legendary snowboard photographer E. Stone. They're 2 episodes deep and they're both hammers. They've hit the ground running with killer content, and I'm inspired by their amazing work and stoked that the genre of snowboard podcast is growing in the best way possible. I could listen to these 2 all day. Other great snowboarding podcasts include Jody Wachniak's Airtime podcast, Matt Barr's Looking Sideways, Sean Kearns' Big B, The Snowboard Project with Mark Sullivan, Jeff Powell's The Powell Movement, and of course the OGs, the Not Snowboarding podcast, which was Nate Muson's project from a few years back. All right, you guys, be sure to come back next week for the final episode of Season 5 of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions. Oh, that was awesome.